Hello, and welcome to this edition of Political Smackdown. I'm Betsy Wells, your host this week, and we have our usual crew. To my extreme right is Mike Philbeck. To my right is Andy Dedman. And to my left is Wes Westmoreland.
I'm on the other right.
The other right. Last week we talked about the upcoming election and made some predictions. We Democrats were hoping for major wins across the nation. And we won! Yay! Let's start with the national scene. Let's talk about Virginia first, and then New Jersey, and then New York. What is this telling us? How do we interpret the results? Andy, will you begin?
Well, I sure will. My good friend Abigail, who sent me personal emails of at least 100 a day for the last month, wanting money, of course, but she did it in a very personal manner, Betsy. But we knew pretty much that with the way Virginia has been going the last few years, that she was probably in their picture of her.
That's Mackie Sherrill.
There she is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were both blonde. They look kind of alike. But she did quite well. Overwhelmingly won. I don't think there was any doubt really about that. She ran a very good race, and I think this is very telling. She was a moderate. And that was the one thing that she was able really to tap into, that she wasn't one of these crazies like AOC or Bernie or some of these. She actually was tapping into some concerns that the average workers had, especially all these federal workers in the upper part of Virginia, where your son's located, that are sitting there without a paycheck and are in a very bad quandary at this point. And she basically pulled a Bill Clinton, said, "I feel your pain." And she was able to ride that to a huge win. And you look at New Jersey, that one was, we thought was going to be really close because the lieutenant governor, I believe it was putting a drag on the ticket with some problems they had. But still, they were even able to win. And the New Jersey governor candidate, there she is there, was able to do quite well. If I remember correctly, she even, on her victory speech, admonished one of her daughters for not cleaning her room. So, I mean, it was very interesting to say the least. But when you look at it all the way around, there again, she was another moderate. So, I mean, there's a lot being said from the president and the Speaker of the House about all this crazy stuff. The hammer and sickle flag is going to be flying all over the country because we got this one nut in New York City. Well, you know, anything that happens in New York City, I wouldn't be surprised about anything that happens there. But they've always been sort of marching to the beat of their own drum up there, and there's the comrade right there. But, you know, this is just, they've had people of his political bent in the past. They elected AOC, and they've had other ones like him before that have been mayor. So nothing new there. And when you look at it, the rest of the country does their own thing. And I think Virginia and New Jersey proved that, and I think we'll prove it again the next year in the midterms.
All right, Mike, what's your take?
Well, I don't think there was any surprise that the people who won all three of those races, but in Virginia and especially in New Jersey, the margin is what should be of some concern going forward. But I do think, especially in Virginia, I think the margin was related to the shutdown. There's more federal workers in northern Virginia than about anywhere in the country. And I think that probably people that sometimes go either way probably went that way because of their frustration with not getting a paycheck last week. But the margin's what we should be concerned about. Andy, as far as them being moderates, you're a moderate. These two are not really moderates. They're just not as radical as some on the further left.
Isn't that moderate?
I'd say they're moderates, Mike.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you what we'll see. This one in Virginia, your friend, whatever her name
Abigail.
Spansberger.
She had said she was going to stand up for women's sports and that kind of stuff. But guess what happened along the way? They flipped 9 seats from Republican to Democrat in the House of Delegates, and she may get an opportunity now. They may pass something to see whether she'll veto it or not. So it's going to be a different thing because she had a very tight House of Delegates.
She did.
And now she doesn't. And we'll see how moderate she is. But only the margin is really the thing of surprise in those three races. As far as New York, you know, that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see the free government-run grocery stores. How many people are going to not be able to keep their buildings up when he freezes rents and all that kind of crazy stuff he's talked about.
Well, they don't keep them up very well now, Mike. I mean, they've got more rats than they do population of human beings now. So, I mean, New York City, like I said, is a thing of their own.
It's got their own problems.
The only thing we can do now is see what happens. And, you know, Wes asked an interesting question. I don't know if he asked it on the air or not about New York. How does a socialist swear an oath of office to the U.S. Constitution with its private property rights guaranteed?
Oh, Wes, you want to answer him?
You can't. You can't honestly swear an
Oh,
oath to the
y'all.
Constitution and be a
You
socialist.
can't, Betsy.
All right.
The Constitution has
It
private
can't happen.
property at
You
its
know,
core.
whenever you talk about a democratic socialist, you're talking about programs that help people. That's where they're socialists. They want to help, and yet,
In every instance where a socialist or Democrat socialist, I'll remind you of the National Socialist Workers' Party, the People's Democrat Republic of Korea, in every case, 100% of the people are hurt except that 1% that may be in power. 100% of
Well,
the time.
Well, Betsy, this is one time I can't agree with
Yeah,
you.
well-
I'm sorry, but I have real issues with this gentleman. I mean, the people of New York City have the right to vote whoever they want in. He won the election fair and square. They have had other socialists in the past that have been elected mayors there, and, you know, that's who they want. He would not be my cup of tea by no means, and he gets the right, as elected, to do as he
to
pleases.
try to get passed.
And to try to, if
To
this
get
is what he
passed.
wants to do, I just don't know how he's going to be able to implement it. Saturday Night Live did a funny sketch on it about the free grocery stores, and said, "You're probably wanting to know how I'm going to do this." I want to know too. He said it was a funny sketch. But there's a lot of things that I think he's going to find they're just not going to be able to do.
Well,
and I think it would be, he's going to, if he wants a grocery store, and I know what he's wanting in these food deserts.
Right.
And there is
In the
a
poor
real
sections.
problem.
A couple of weeks ago, I had mistakenly thought, and I called Andy and told him I was wrong and he was right. The leader of the Democrats in the U.S. Senate from New York never did endorse
No,
him.
never did. But
And
congratulated him.
Probably did. Well, of course he did,
And
but,
he should.
but he probably didn't vote for him. I'm looking for him now when he does run after things turn south in New York to say, "I told you so."
Well, guys, you know that he cannot do anything by himself. He's got to have the votes on his city council to go with it. Plus, you've got to find the money to do it. And, you know, I
Socialists
can,
never have had to find the money to
well,
do it.
you would, now,
And
this,
I would
he is
argue
not a
Trump-
pure socialist.
Trump's version of socialism has not required a vote by Congress. It
Well-
just has happened, and he hasn't found the money, so
Well-
I reject that. But we've got one picture that I think we've got.
Oh,
that
Wes,
encapsulates
Wes,
it right
Wes,
there.
Wes, listen.
I like
Said-
the one,
Y'all,
I like
it
the
just-
one that I sent y'all that showed the Statue of Liberty on a trailer headed to Florida.
Oh, y'all.
But
I
Mike, the
yes.
big takeaway on the mayor of New York, how soon we forget the lessons of history.
But
Well-
here's the thing.
And by the way, Andy, it wasn't just him. We elected 11 socialists this cycle, including the re-election of one in North Carolina,
Which one was that?
Carborough.
Well,
And
that
it's a mayor.
Yeah, Carborough is another world to its own self there too.
Right
Keep
beside
excusing other worlds.
Chapel
But I
Hill.
mean, but it is. I mean, they have their own way of doing things, and and I think that's where I disagree with you on. If this is what people, the kind of government they want, they're going to suffer the
They
consequences
certainly
or
will.
reap the benefits from whatever. And but that's where people need
Y'all
to
gonna have
read
to quit
history.
arguing, or Betsy
I
might
know.
go get to Cleveland.
I'm
Well,
not
I know,
gonna-
but I'm trying to argue the point, Betsy, that I've always believed people deserve the government they vote for.
That they vote
But,
for.
but this is a
Yes.
clear violation of the U.S. Congress and every founding principle we have.
But how do
And
we tell people they can't run and they can't vote for the people they want? I mean,
mean-
is that not the very essence of freedom?
I don't know if you
Our
saw, I
child-
bit my tongue on that one.
Yes, but in Virginia, they not only elected Abigail Spanberger as being their governor, they elected a Democrat lieutenant governor, and that attorney general that had sent those texts several years ago
What
was
does that tell you about
elected.
the voters in Virginia?
Now,
when the
my
guy said
son
he was
is one
gonna-
of those-
When he was going to, said he wanted to see this Republican legislator and his family dead.
Well,
And
now,
they still voted
and
for
he
him.
apologized, and you know sometimes you make mistakes, and once you put it on the internet, it's always there. But y'all, as you can see, but you know the Democrats had a great night, and even though you may talk about it, and we'll see what Mayor McDonnell will do in New York City by himself. He can't do it by himself, and Abigail Spanberger had 15 points win. So did Mikey Sherrill at 13 points in New Jersey. And so now moving on, but you know, we'll see. All right, and moving on down. There was another major win for the Democrats in California on Tuesday, where voters, they didn't have a person to vote for. You know, they went and voted on a proposition rather than a person to change how their congressional districts were drawn. This too passed overwhelmingly. Why did California do this? And there's the map that tells you the number of Democrat seats and Republican seats. Wes, lead us off.
Well, I want to go back and hit one more point. You know, Roy Cooper, with
Oh, we
nobody's
gotta talk
permission,
about
took away
Roy
the same
Cookie.
property rights during COVID that Manani's talking about doing in New York.
That was a crisis.
Everything's a crisis.
No, it's not everything a crisis. Wes.
You know,
I'll
thi-
say
this
too,
all
West.
this all started when the court system said Texas had to redraw districts in the middle of the census term. Then Trump pushed for Texas to redraw Republican districts. California's reacting to it. You saw the map, and you put that back up if we can. You can see how Northern California, which has generally been a Republican area, has been completely gerrymandered to take away those seats intentionally. That's the only purpose. And this after California's Constitution requires a supposedly nonpartisan commission to draw the districts that are on the left. This proposition said, no, we're going to suspend the Constitution just for the time being. These are the districts we're going to put in. Then we're going to go back to our Constitution. So a couple takeaways here. California Democrats are willing to ignore the Constitution at their convenience, just like we were talking about in the last segment. And Trump pushed for all these red states to draw districts midterm, just like he's pushing the Senate to drop the filibuster. Mike, what goes around comes around. We better be careful as Republicans trying to change the rules, because Democrats are going to take advantage of it, as they well should. But we're going down a bad road here, and I'm really concerned about it, but didn't expect anything different from California.
Okay, all right, we're getting ready to go to a break. Now, when we come back, we'll finish up talking about Proposition 50 in California.
Cakes and cookies, toys and gifts, Christmas at your fingertips.
It's the shopping event of the season, the Southern Christmas Show, November 13th through 23rd at the Park Expo and Conference Center. Experience Santa's workshop, brimming with timeless childhood delights, twinkling lights, and festive cheer. Buy tickets early and save at southernchristmasshow.com.
Let's go to the Southern Christmas Show.
Welcome back to this part of Political Smackdown, and thank you for staying with us. We're talking about what happened in California with the Proposition 50 that would not even having a person on the ballot, and 82% voted to pass Proposition 50. Andy, what do you think?
Well, I'm in a damn cranky mood today, so I'm gonna fight with Wes some more.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and I understand this. I mean, and I do agree with him on most of this because it is a slippery slope when you start redistricting. It seems like we're redistricting every year. I mean, we've already done it again here in North Carolina, you know, and you got to remember, President Trump doesn't care about anything that we all care about because we've all been involved in politics. We love the process. We all know the history of it. He doesn't care. I mean, it does not matter to him. And all he likes is raw power.
Win the fight in front of him.
Yeah, and he doesn't care what comes after him because he figures he's going to be dead and it's not going to matter. And he's already said he's going to hell, so he don't care.
And
I mean, and that was amazing when he said that. That just sort of was jarring to me, but that's beside the point. I just think we got to buckle down and get through the next 3 years, get through his term, and we've got to realize we've got to get back to some semblance of order and get back to where there was respect. I mean, when Marjorie Taylor Greene can say something nice about Nancy Pelosi retiring and say kind things about her, and the sitting president refuses to say anything but she's an evil woman, I mean, what does that say about where
Well,
says
let's
he's
not
giving-
discount some of the
Some-
positives
well,
that Trump has brought.
well, no, I'm just talking about how we can show respect for people
He
of the opposite
has shown
kind.
every bit as much respect for her as she has for
Well,
him.
but what I'm saying is, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene has said a lot of things about Pelosi, but with her retirement, I'm talking about how we always have
That's
had a
true.
certain courtesy to other people upon their retirement or somebody's passing.
Well, I got
or
something nice to say about her retirement.
Well, we're not.
Good
But
riddance.
you-
Oh, listen
but I'm
to
talking about a fellow colleague.
Listening to you.
That's what
All
I'm
right.
saying.
All right, Mike, let's talk about
Well,
California.
I don't know if Tim can put that map back up, I'll just make this observation because they always say this about North Carolina. The Democrats here do. So in the last presidential election, Trump got about 35, 38% of the vote. In the existing map they're going to change, we only had about 22% of the seats with a so-called independent redistricting. And now the Republicans will have less than 10% of the seats. So don't let the Democrats in North Carolina tell me that it's only North Carolina. Whichever state has the power is doing it, whether blue or red states. And it's wrong no matter who does it. And that's just the way, but that's the climate we live in.
And you had
And
the
that's
list of
the-
the week of 10 blue states with
States.
0 Republicans.
And it's a
Right.
knee-jerk reaction to each other. I mean,
It is.
that's all it is.
So,
And you
but it
can't
is where
expect
we're
the blue
at, and
states
and
not
I've
to
got
do
new-
it.
I've got good news for the Democrats
Oh,
today.
listening to you.
I really do. If this past Tuesday is any indication of the midterms, they wouldn't have had to done any of this and they'd have still flipped the House.
Well, and
There's
on.
time to change it, but there's not a lot of time to change it.
But, and you know, like you were talking, Wes, about how it started in Texas and that they had to redo their districts. That went back to the very beginning. That was a court battle. And then President
Right.
Trump decides that all the red states need to come up with more districts.
Which I-
And you know, I don't believe that they should do that during just arbitrarily do that during the 10-year cycle. You know, it's supposed to be done after every census, and that's 10 years, and you live with it. But
Well, in the North
but
Carolina
now-
Constitution, though, Betsy, it is forbidden to do it on state, House, and Senate
And
seats,
Senate, the
but it is not
General
on
Assembly.
federal office. So
Yes.
it's not a violation of our own Constitution.
Well-
Yeah, it's a whole different set
Whole
of
different-
rules.
Oh, it is. But anyway, y'all, it's just not right to do it midterm. But if the Republicans are determined to do it, then you
It's
can't
okay for the
expect.
Democrats then?
You can't. You've got to. I mean, you've got to play ball. But moving on to county elections, what was the outcome in Kings Mountain? We really talked about Kings Mountain last week, about that race for the at-large seat. When we talked about the political climate at that, like I said, that at-large race. What else happened there? Any surprises in any of the municipal races. Mike, what have you got?
Well, if I'll start with the district seat and we'll get to the at-large
Yeah.
seat. But Mike Butler got beat by 6 votes, I think, in a small district like 68 or 70 to 62 or something like that. But he's been there a long time, owns a business there. He's older than I am, so he's not a young
I
gentleman.
taught him.
But Betsy, now you're really
I
telling me.
know I am. In my
But-
first year teaching.
But that Mike got beat. Hawkins did not run for the other one, and a paralegal that works for King Law won that seat, Ms. Lemon. And so that's going to be 2 new faces. Scott's a not new face. He's been out a couple of years. But, you know, I did predict last week that Scott would likely win based on what I had seen. But he didn't just win. With 5 names on the ballot, 4 of which were still in the campaign, he got over 47% of the vote. And that's about as good as I've seen anybody do in a plurality race.
Yeah.
Because he was 21 points, I believe, ahead of Phil D., who is currently in the seat by virtue of appointment. But Scott, as we noted, really worked this time. And so congratulations to Scott. Congratulations to all who put your names on the ballot and ran. And I hope now in Kings Mountain that things might calm down. But I do think there's a lesson in Kings Mountain for other places, even next year county commission races in places, of the incumbents that ran, both got beat in a year in which, in a revow year, Kings Mountain did not lower the property tax rate to try to help offset. I think that's a big issue in a lot of places. As far as the water board, Don, well, I'll let Andy talk about that. But 2 things, we had a liquor by the drink vote in Lawndale, and it failed because it was a tie.
It's in Lattimore.
31 to 31.
It's in
Pending
Lattimore.
canvas.
No, it's Lawndale.
I think there's 6.
It's the last thing on the ballot, but,
I think there's 6 votes that are in question that'll be determined at canvas.
and it may yet pass then at
Maybe it's
canvass.
just 1 or
But
2,
at least
but-
on election night, it was a tie. And Alton Beal ran for city
You're
council
right.
in Lattimore.
That's it. That's
And
worse.
didn't run for mayor that he's had, but he beat the person who ran for mayor 27 to 18 and is going to be the winner as a write-in.
Well, and Alton has been a long-time mayor over
Yep.
there in Lattimore.
That reminds me of the time that Dean ran for mayor in Grover and the write-in vote defeated him.
And he did not like talking
No,
about
he
that.
did not
No.
like to talk about it. But anyway, what else, Andy?
Well, we can talk real quick about the water board. I mean, Don Melton, longtime chairman, had passed away a few weeks ago, and he was still on the ballot. But, Mike and I talked about it. We've known Don forever, and he probably about came out of his grave because he came in 3rd. And that was something, he always took pride in coming in first. The only time he didn't was when Alan Norman, before he ran for sheriff, ran for the water board, and he was determined he was going to come in first, and he came in first and put Don in second. So, but now we're waiting around to see what happens about that. So that's going to be an interesting thing. And we were talking to Clifton Philbeck, who's over at elections board, and he didn't sound like he wasn't real sure,
Yeah.
Mike, when we talked to him. a
Well,
while
one way
ago.
or another, the Board of Elections of Cleveland County will declare Don's seat vacant because he's not able to take
fill it.
office. And either the water board or the county commissioners legally will have to appoint somebody that will then have to run for the final 2 years and 2 years. But we'll have to see how that works with the water board.
What about county elections, Wes?
Well, I think that's a little bit of a surprise with the strength of a write-in candidate apparently in that water board race. But in the essence of time, so we can get the lightning round, I agree with what's been said, and what a fitting tribute to Mr. Melton, who has served so long and seen so much growth in that water system to be elected. And granted, some people probably weren't aware of his passing, but that's still a significant showing, and I think ultimately it's a tribute to Mr. Melton.
And before we leave this and move on, I was very disappointed in the turnout of vote, and I think we ought to add more things at the municipal level, like we used to have voting for Board of Education. We could add the county commissioners, and I think that would pull in more people to vote on these so-called off years, and wouldn't have such a long ballot then on the presidential race. But that's food for thought. All right, let's move on. And let's go early. Let's go do the lightning round. Mike, what have you got?
Well, every time we have municipal races, you mentioned low turnout, that's always an issue. And how many years have we heard people say they ought to move them back to even-numbered years where there'd be more people vote?
Then there'd be a
So
ballot,
here's the
4
history
pages.
from the School of Government real quickly. Up until 1971, city elections were in even-numbered years, but were nonpartisan when everything else just about was partisan. And in 1971, the legislature created a law to take this hodgepodge of every individual city having something a little different and put it in a statute for the more than 500 cities. And to this day, all but 5 cities in North Carolina have elections in odd-numbered years, and all but a handful are nonpartisan. And their rationale basically for doing that probably was because they're nonpartisan and they get lost at the bottom of a partisan ballot. And number 2 is to try to put more emphasis on municipals, but because they're standalone, but we still have this problem with low turnout. And it's been an ongoing discussion, but do remember this, the county government does not bear the municipal expense that's extra. The cities have to pay the county for the city elections.
Okay, Andy?
Well, this week, Betsy, Elon Musk, our old friend, has gone back to work, and his friends at Tesla have decided that he needed a pay raise. They have voted to make him the first trillionaire in the world. Trillionaire with a T, folks. Unbelievable. Now, they have given him some marks that he's got to hit to get that, but unbelievable. He's already the richest man on this planet. They're going to make him even richer. That is nearly criminal, if you want my opinion. How do you tell the difference between a billion and a trillion? I mean, it's just you spell it out.
Trillion is 1,000 billion.
I would expect a Democrat to know that.
No, you
Well, I mean,
wouldn't.
how do you
It's
keep up with it?
Well, let me give you some perspective.
and-
If he turned it all into cash, it would only pay off 1/38 of the national debt.
Well, and of course, I wonder how much of that money came from contracts from the government. All right, Wes, what's your lightning round?
Well, last November, voters in Tulliston, Arizona approved a $125 million bond for the local school district for general and preventative maintenance technology, fixtures, furniture, and equipment to support student growth. Betsy, only 22% of the district students are proficient in math, 26 proficient in English. So it seemed like a good idea because we know more money helps education in every way, right? Well, the school system is spending $80 million of that money on a new domed high school football stadium. So Betsy, maybe there is enough money in education after all.
All right, now mine is something different. I want to comment about Dr. Dottie McIntyre. She was honored this past week when I was in Virginia, and I'm so sorry I missed it. But she spent 45 years here at Cleveland Community College, longtime faculty member. She moved up from teacher to administrator to dean and was the administrator first of the office, executive director of the CCC Foundation. And congratulations, Dottie. They have named the office there for the foundation after you, and it's highly deserved. She was one of our distinguished women from the Cleveland County Commission Women in 1997. Thank y'all so much. Come back next week for the next edition of Political Smackdown.